folks, it's Shannon. Today I wanted to talk to you about Orilium, or the Magical Readathon, which is hosted each year in the spring and the fall by G over at Book Roast, who I'll link down below. A lot of you know that I participated this year and it went really well, so I wanted to talk about the readathon, my character, what I got up to with terms of reading, and maybe make a couple of spreads with y'all today. If any of that sounds interesting, grab some tea and let's get into it. Okay, I don't have a real plan, but I cut out and printed out a bunch of things. So I say I don't have a plan, but I have a loose idea, which is that I want to make these 2 pages kind of a general overview of Orilium and my character. My character's name is Feister. And I think I'm gonna have, this is a background behind here. So I have some vague ideas, but it's gonna come together on the page as we go. Yeah. So one of the great things about the Magical Readathon is that there's a lot of printables, which makes it fun if you're a bullet journaler like I am. G has them all in a drive, a Google Drive, which is funny, that you can go through and print off. It'll be linked underneath any of the videos that talk about Orilium that I'll link below. Yeah. So let's get started. For those of you that don't know, the Magical Readathon has been going on for several years. I learned about it last year and attempted to do the spring and fall semesters with my character, who I said is Feister. This is just from Pick Crew. Feister uses they, them pronouns, and they have a bunch of cool stuff from character creation, which you can do in the videos that I'll link. But let's talk about Feister and some details. So, you may get an idea that Feister is quite bookish from my choice of stuff already. And that would be correct. Feister is quite bookish. Okay, I found my fountain pen. That's the color that I use in my reading journal. There we go. I feel like that's a great heading. So to talk a little bit more about Feister, and you have to kind of know a little bit more about Orilium. So Orilium is the magical school that the Magical Readathon takes place at, and it's a part of the world of Aldea. I don't know if you can see this tiny map. Maybe not. Maybe down here is better. Anyway, Orilium's in the middle. Feister hails from Dark Meadow, which is one of the continents in Aldea. And Feister is an air earthling, which may sound counterintuitive, but just means that it's an air-like elemental, basically, is the kind of being that Feister is. And you get to choose all these details. There's like all kinds of cool stuff to figure out. So I think I'll put this here and then we can talk about some of the details. So like I said, Feister's an air earthling. from Dark Meadow. And we tried last year and weren't able to pass the spring semester, which I think technically means that the fall semester didn't count. All of this to say, I chose a different calling this year. So there's, it ends up being kind of RPG-ish. So if you've ever played a tabletop RPG, you'll know some of the things that I'm talking about. But this is basically the race. This is where they're from. And then they have a guild. So there's 4 guilds, and there's like a little quiz that you can take to get sorted into one. And my guild is the Order of the Crescent. Which has this cool banner that we'll probably put right there. Or something. And then within guilds, like I said, there's 4 of them. You choose a calling, and this is basically like your magical job. And this year, I chose to switch to one of the new jobs, which is Alexamancer. And so this is like librarian, linguist, but magical, which is, for those that wouldn't know, maybe what I would have done with my other life if I hadn't gone into STEM. I'm quite bookish in a lot of ways. So you get to choose your calling, and your calling basically tells you what subjects you need to study at magical school. Oh, I'm sorry about the background noise if you can hear it. But yeah, so your calling tells you which subjects you need to study at magical school during the semesters, which are the spring equinox and the autumn equinox. So this year we decided, Feister and I, that we would try to be a Lexamancer. And so we're starting off with our first year, which means that we're a novice Lexamancer. All of this is just fun, basically. If you want to just get to the reading prompts, feel free to indulge yourself in the lore as much or as little as you want to, basically. But I find all of this fascinating and have a good time with it. I love an alternate universe. Yeah, so once you have your calling for your character, you will know, based on some of the other documents that G puts out, what classes you need to study for. So let me grab one of my references. So for Spring Equinox 2025, if you are studying to be a Lexamancer like I am, you would have 5 classes that you need to do. So those classes are Conjuration, Spells and Incantations, Inscription, Lore, and Restoration. And then in the fall equinox or fall semester, you will have specific levels that you have to achieve in each of several courses, usually not all 5, though the number of classes and the number of like exams you have to pass do vary by calling. So have fun choosing which one you want to do. Yeah. So those are some of the basics of Feister. There are some things that are specific to your guild. So because I'm in the Order of the Crescent, I get to choose a familiar. And mine's a baby dragon. I don't think I've named my baby dragon yet. So if you guys have ideas, it's this really cool pearlescent baby dragon. Like so. With kind of like iridescent hues. So yeah, if you have good ideas for a name for my dragon, drop them below and we'll get into it. Some of the other things that you start with are your conduit, which is like your magical weapon, I guess. Feister uses a quarterstaff. Which this was the best picture I could find of. And then I also have this picture. Feister wears a quill that is blue behind their ear. And so I wanted to have another picture of it. Okay. I feel like that's a good intro to Feister page. But that's not all. There's more. So this year in the Spring Equinox, we were working to rescue dragons. The first one that we rescued, everybody could bond with. And then out of the other 5, you could choose one to bond with based on your character. So the first character, or the first dragon that we rescued, was the Trash Coon Dragon. You may be noticing that this is a little bit of a silly readathon, and I love that about it. All this art and awesome printables are designed by G and her partner Logan. Often at times we'll get drawings during live streams, which is super fun. Anyway, the Trash Coon has joined our merry band, as has the dragon that we bonded with this year and saved, which was the dragon we saved when we read 5 million pages, the Lore Dragon, who just looks like they will get along swimmingly with Feister, I feel. They can find themselves in dusty tomes for days. Reading, debating, and otherwise really enjoying themselves. As part of our time with the dragons, we were able to join a society that is for the rescue of dragons and got a fancy pin that goes along with that. So that's what this picture is of. And then the other thing that happens in Orilium is that if you attend live streams, sometimes you will find these beautiful creatures called implings. This one, again, very bookish, smoking a little pipe, adorable, all drawn by Logan. And I think it's just amazing and hilarious and a ton of fun. So I'm sure we'll collect more things. I think I might leave this space for that as the years go on. Yeah, so this is kind of the basics of character creation within the readathon. And then once you have your character and some of the swag that you pick up along the way, we can talk about how the readathon itself actually works. So the big thing that you need to know what the reading prompts are is the syllabus. And G makes the syllabus every year that basically tells you what reading prompt you have for the various classes that you need for your calling. So you can see here that there's all these different schools of magic. They have a course focus for the year and then a reading prompt that goes along with them. And basically to study whichever school of magic or class you're taking, you have to finish a book. I think books are counting, you know, all kinds of reading. So books, ebooks, audiobooks, graphic novels, all of that, it counts. I think the rule in general is that you have to have it be listed on Goodreads for it to count as a book. I kind of want to put this in, but I don't know where. This is just another badge of Orilium, the magical school where all of this takes place. Any hoodle. So usually before the month begins, you plan out a TBR or a to be read pile that solves your prompts, basically. So for Feister this year, remember, we are, oh boy, where did it go? We are a Lexamancer, and we have these 5 classes that we need to finish. So that's technically 5 books. Each guild does have a book club book, which you can count as one of your classes, and then you can do extra credit for 5 points each. If you finish your semester, you get 50 points. And yeah, we keep track of our guild points because we can buy things that are helpful, which we'll come into later. So what did I do? I read a bunch of books, more books, in fact, than I think I ever have in a month. I finished off this book, but I didn't start it in the time that during the readathon, so I think it doesn't count. But it's great if you haven't read it. Very helpful way to think about housekeeping and self-care tasks. Oh, we got Feister again here. Let's put Feister's face up here. So I think what I'm gonna do is make a fancy title and then just put the books here, the book covers that I have. I can go into how I do it, but basically I resize them on Canva and take them from either Goodreads or Storygraph. I don't use Goodreads anymore, so it's usually from Storygraph. And then I print out the little covers so that we can put them in and it'll look beautiful. So maybe, do we want to do this in the order that we read them? I think that might be cool. So the first one that I started was, again, this one that started before the readathon. So we'll keep that over there. I am up to date with my book. Okay, not completely. There's one more book I need to write a summary for, but I'm doing pretty good and I'm pretty proud of it. So, yes. What did I read next? I think next was A Natural History of Dragons. So, the first book that I finished for the readathon was actually my book club, my guild book club book, which was A Natural History of Dragons, which we chose for obvious reasons for the dragon-themed semester. And I really enjoyed this book. This one I used to fill the prompt of, oh, which class was it? Lore, where we were studying the Song of Ages, and we needed to have a musical term in the title. Do you know which one of these words is musical? If you're a band nerd like me, you do. Anyway, it's natural. Natural is like flat or sharp. It's a way of talking about notes. So I read that book. That was my first one that I finished. Next, I think was, yeah. So mostly throughout the whole month, I was reading The Wind's 12 Quarters by Ursula K. Le Guin. This is a collection of short stories that she wrote. It was really good. There were a couple that I particularly liked, like Semley's Necklace, and some others. After that, ooh, this is gonna get messy fast. Okay, after that, I think the next one that I finished was Strange Beasts, which was for the BBBC Book of the Month. Maybe we'll just get them in order and then we can talk about which ones for which prompts later. I think that might make more sense. Okay, and then, so, next was The Moon Book. This was an extra credit book of mine. Oh, that's not gonna fit there, is it? Maybe we'll do these two, there. And then Unmasking Autism, which I read for another book club. You may notice that I'm in too many book clubs, but I love it. And then I read To Be Taught If Fortunate, Very, Very Far North, Sunbringer, and Dealing with Dragons. Now, Dealing with Dragons I haven't finished yet, but I'm going to this month because I have Scrolls of Extension that allowed me to keep working on these two after April. But still, read 8 books in April, and I'm very proud of that. May has been, understandably, I think, a little bit quieter. So, do we want to put ratings or do we just want to put the books? What do we think? And I think I want to have like Spring Equinox somewhere as a title. Maybe Spring Equinox, that might work. Okay. Let's stick these down. Very exciting. So I had a good month with reading, not just in terms of how many books I finished, but a lot of them were really highly rated. I don't know if you guys rate your books. I do. I have a fairly simple way of doing it. 5 stars is like, it was amazing, new favorite, we'll recommend to anybody. 4 stars is like, I really, really liked it. And I feel like most people would enjoy it. 3 stars is like, I liked it, it was all right. 2 stars is like, wasn't my favorite thing in the world, but not horrible. And then 1 star is basically like, why did I finish this? I should have DNF'd it. DNF meaning do not finish. So we can talk about the ratings, but I had a lot of 4s and 5s, which was really exciting. To me. Oh, come on, you need to fit. Maybe we'll scooch this over. Read so many books, they won't fit. I guess that's a good problem to have. There we go. Okay, and then we'll do these ones. And I need to put in my little Scrolls of Extension that I got. Okay. Yeah, but I think I got two or three 5 stars. Same with 4 stars and then a 3. Maybe 2 3s. Anyway, yeah, it was a really good reading month, basically. Understandably, May has been a little bit less bonkers in terms of reading. I've been kind of just slowly catching up with some of the things that I have left over from last month, basically. But I have a couple going at the moment, and it's going well. I feel like I've read so much more this year than I have in some of the past years, and I think I credit my reading journal with it. Like, it's really been motivating to me to get in here and keep track of what I've been reading and make visually pleasing spreads to remember. All right, we're almost done taping things down. Do you guys have reading journals? Let me know. What do you like to keep in them? Do you rate your books? Do you review your books? What do you do? All right, and then we gotta stick these little suckers on. Okay, so not only did I finish my semester and read some extra credit books, I also finished a dragon rider's license, which means that I read 2 books about dragons, of course, one of which I am still finishing, but Natural History of Dragons and Dealing with Dragons. And then I watched probably one of my favorite movies ever, Spirited Away, which also has dragons. And so that is enough to get me the title of a dragon rider and a license to do so, which is very exciting. Okay, now that we've got all this together, I think let's write Spring Equinox up here. And maybe like add Orilium. With Feister. I feel like that's looking pretty cool. All right, and then maybe we'll write what class. I think we've got space. Maybe not, actually. Maybe we'll write over here. What class they were for. I think I got an idea. We'll just do check marks over here by the prompts. So for alchemy, which was an extra credit class, I read the Moon Book, which was studying volume magnification and needed an all caps book title. I did not do animal studies. I substituted Art of Illusions prompt in for spells and incantations. So I think we'll check that off. Spells and Incantations was one of my required classes, but I have some free prompt switches from previous years. So for Art of Illusion, instead of Spells and Incantations, I did Distance Manipulation, which was a book I had already planned for this month, which was Unmasking Autism. And then for Conjuration, this was a really cool one. We were studying locational summons, and we took a random country generator and got 5 different countries and then had to pick an author from one of them. So one of my countries was Canada, and I did this book, The Very, Very Far North by Dan Bar-El. which is a delightful middle grade reader. If you're ever looking for something that you want to just like have Northern Winnie the Pooh vibes, basically. It was good fun. Then I think the next one is Inscription. So that for me, this was studying the hook, and The Wind's 12 Quarters was the book that I picked for this one. We took 3 books. I picked them off my shelves and read the first sentence and then picked which one sounded the best to me. So The Wind's 12 Quarters won that one for me. Lore we talked about was The Song of Ages, which has a musical term in the title. So that was Natural History of Dragons for me. I did, as extra credit, Psionics and Divination, which was Psychokinesis and a book with witches or the occult. That was Strange Beasts for me. I did Restoration, which was Uncommon Antidotes, and that was a book with a 4-star plus average rating on Goodreads or Storygraph. So I did To Be Taught If Fortunate. And then these are the 2 books that I'm finishing. We need to find what courses they would fit with. I think Dealing with Dragons would fit with Shape-Shifting, so we'll do that. And then Sunbringer. Oh, maybe it's a 1-word. Yes. So for Artificery, we were studying clockwork mechanics, and you had to check the time you were watching the intro video and then pick a title length to match. So mine was 1 p.m. and it was 1 word long, Sunbringer. There we go. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 books read. 5 of these were my main courses, which again were Conjuration, Spells and Incantations, Inscription, Lore, and Restoration. And then my extra credit books were Psionics and Divination, Alchemy, Artificery, and Shapeshifting. So that is 50 points for the semester, and then 20 points, 5 points each for these books. So I earned 70 points just from the reading that I did, and then I got extra points from the various games on streams that we did. So, did I have a final? I don't know. So we keep track of our guild reputation points ourselves. I think that might be it, but we'll check over here too. Oh, here it is. Okay. So I think I just need to add 20 points. So I have 413 guild reputation points. But the scrolls that I bought are both 10 points each. So that takes us down to 393 points. So that is how many guild reputation points I am finishing out with. So guild reputation points can buy you fun stuff in the Guild Emporium, including scrolls that make various tasks easier during the next semester. So I I think with all that said, that is how my time at Orilium went in Spring Equinox 2025. So again, let me show you the pages we got together. This is Feister, my character for the game. Their pearlescent dragon, the lore dragon that is bonded with us, the trash coon dragon, our little impling friend, and yeah, that is kind of some of the backstory, and this is how the Spring Equinox went for me. Basically, really, really well. So I'm excited. The fall equinox or autumn equinox is around September usually, but we will hear from G more as we go. If you liked this, feel free to join in. It's all free and fun. And yeah, I'm curious, have you ever participated in a readathon? If so, what's your favorite? Orilium is definitely my favorite by far. I really enjoy all of the lore and all of the fun and all of the printables, and just the story of it is really appealing. So with that, I think I will bid you adieu. Have a good rest of your day, and I'll see you in the next one.